just give a bit of background to me and what I do. So I'm a psychologist. I work at the Institute of Child Health, and we've actually been doing research looking at how best to identify and treat behavioural problems, but also emotional difficulties, so depression, anxiety, in children and young people with epilepsy, because we know there are really, really high rates of those kind of difficulties in that group of young people. What people often ask us is, well, how is treating these difficulties different in children with epilepsy? I suppose in one way, we don't know, and that's why we're doing the research, but in another way, the theories about what leads to anxiety, depression, behaviour problems are the same across children, young people, adults, children with intellectual disabilities, children without. So we didn't see that there was a reason to assume that that would be different in children with epilepsy. So what I'm going to be talking about are probably strategies that you all have heard of, you might have seen on television programmes sometimes. We think that those same kind of theories apply to children and young people with epilepsy. And the research so far has, well, we found it works. So that's all I can tell you, I suppose. We know that all children are different anyway. So part of this is taking the strategies that I'm talking about and really making them fit for your own child. So we had a young person that was non-verbal and didn't understand verbal instructions, but really responded very well to high fives when we were trying to praise him, for example. Equally, some of this might look like it's geared towards 3 or 4 year olds, but the same kind of strategies work for teenagers. It's just maybe instead of playing Lego, as on the pictures, you might be watching them play on the iPad, for example. So this is my only football slide, given that we are in a football stadium. I was telling Sophie that I know nothing at all about football, so I'm not going to say anything more about it. But this is just to say that our main thing, I think, that the main take-home message that I would like to give, that it's all about goals and really what you're wanting to work towards. So I think sometimes the children that we see have lots and lots of different difficulties and lots of behavioural problems in lots of different areas. And it's about kind of finding one thing that you would like to be different. So, for example, we've had families that maybe mum wanted to be able to go to the toilet without her child following her. And that was the one goal, and it was a very clear, well-defined goal that you can work towards and you can measure your progress towards. So you've kind of heard of things like SMART goals. That's what you need to make first before implementing some of these strategies. I'm going to skip through all these theory slides, but the main thing is to say that a lot of behaviour is learnt, and that means that we can learn other behaviours as well to replace the maybe more difficult behaviours. So the first part of all of our kind of behaviour interventions is about attention. So we know that children need attention. So it's kind of evolutionary beneficial for a child to want to stay near their parent because their parent keeps them safe, they protect them, and they need that to be able to learn and to develop properly. So children have got really good at getting attention from their parents. That's what they do best. And that's what they like best. So any attention that they get from their parents is going to reinforce, make the behaviour happen more often. And we know that it's most rewarding for any child or adult when it happens immediately after the behaviour. So whatever behaviour happens, if they're getting parental attention immediately afterwards, that's going to make that behaviour happen more often. Attention is attention, whether it is positive attention or negative attention. If you like, all attention in some ways is reinforcing, so will increase the behaviour for a child. Obviously, there are ways of attending to a child that you would want to be using, things like praise and smiles, touching, rewards, and negative attention, so maybe shouting or just kind of responding to question asking still counts as attention. And I think that this is kind of the key to all of the strategies that we use. So if you can kind of understand this bit, the rest sort of follows on. So the idea is that any attention that you get from your parent will increase that behaviour. Any attention. So if the child is behaving okay, you want to give them lots of positive attention, because then they're going to think, well, I get attention for doing that, so I'm going to do it more often. If it's not okay, and you maybe tell them off for it, or even if you just kind of are looking at them, or kind of getting visibly a bit frustrated, that's still going to increase the behaviour, because it's still attention. That's why it's called kind of the criticism trap. Again, if you don't have attention towards a behaviour, then that behaviour will reduce. So if the child is behaving as you would want them to behave, I hope this is making sense. If they're behaving as you would want them to behave, and you don't attend to that behaviour, people might kind of say, oh, it's best to let sleeping dogs lie. That behaviour will reduce, even if it's how you want them to be behaving. So some parents kind of say, I don't want to step in at that point because they're playing really nicely together. Why would I want to interrupt that? If I draw attention to it, it might make them stop. That's not the case. So what you want to be doing to decrease the behaviour when the behaviour is not okay is ignoring it. So that's kind of the top left and the bottom right are what we're wanting to be aiming for. So then the first strategy that we normally discuss is one-to-one time. So this works, it's kind of guidelines for play, it says, but this works just as well for children and young people and adults as well. The idea is that you're building a bank of parental attention. So if you can give them the attention that they're wanting in the day, then they don't need to get it in other ways later on in the day. So building that bank for young children, you would just watch them play, and the idea is that you take the child's lead. So this is not reading, this is not kind of spending 10 minutes doing their homework with them. That doesn't count. It's just watching what they're doing, and then noticing anything that happens that you think is positive. So, if they're sharing, you can point that out and say how much you like it. You're just describing what they're doing, and you can change the volume of your voice or the way that you're speaking to make it more interesting. But what you're not doing is asking lots of questions. You're not saying, how was your day at school today? You're not saying, you're not trying to use it as a teaching exercise. Let's count the number of red blocks. Just, look, you're putting the red blocks together. That looks really nice. What I did have was a video, but it's not working. I also don't think that we've got that much time. So at the end, I'm going to show you a website that you can go on to. There's a website for families that's really, really good. It looks at all of mental health, and it has some great videos and some great information on it. The idea is throughout, you're asking yourself this question in your head. So what is the child doing now? And then you're answering it verbally. So you're describing what the child is doing. It sounds strange, and when you first do it, I think it does feel really odd. And sometimes it can take parents a while to get used to that way of talking. But after a while, it becomes more natural. You also have to find, it's like we said at the beginning, you have to find a way that fits best for you and your family, so you know your child best. If you think that you keep saying, good job that you did that, is going to really annoy them, probably it is. And maybe you need to find a better way, a way that fits them and the way of talking that you would use. But using those same principles, that you're not asking questions and you're not trying to use it as a teaching opportunity. So there was the video. So step 1 was play, or building that bank of attention. Step 2 then is thinking about when we have the behaviour that we want to see, we want more of it, so we're going to provide attention for that behaviour through praise and through rewards. So there are different kinds of rewards. It might be a physical reward, might be money. It might be a verbal reward, so just saying, well done. But what we think is that it's good, firstly, just to use your own attention. So you're giving them lots of verbal praise and maybe physical physical rewards, so a high five for when they're doing something that you want them to be doing. And you can use this together with that playtime, if you're using the playtime, to kind of praise positive aspects of behaviour during that play. So what you want, we focus a lot on just the praise aspect. I don't think you need straight away to jump into rewards. Actually, just telling, I should say it's labelled praise, so the child needs to know what they're being praised for. It's no good just saying, be careful to a child, or well done, if you're not telling them what you're saying well done for. What is it that you like them to be doing? So I really like it when you put the plate in the dishwasher, for example. Some laughing there. Maybe they're not doing that, but some might be. So you're telling them exactly what it is that you like them to be doing, and it happens really soon after the behaviour. So telling them in the evening that something that they did well this morning is no good. It needs to be at the time, so you need to be attending to their behaviour all the time to be able to praise when you see the behaviour, the positive behaviour happening. And this is where having your goal at the beginning really helps, because you can think, what behaviour am I wanting to see? And then notice when you're seeing that particular behaviour. If you don't have a goal at the beginning, you're kind of looking at them all the time, and you might be kind of praising everything, and it makes it quite hard to keep focused on your goal. Rewards, you want to choose 1 or 2 behaviours and make the steps really small and achievable. So really they should be rewarded every time they're doing something. It might be more of a kind of token economy where you're giving them some sort of a token or a piece of paper every time, or a star on a star chart every time they're doing something, rather than a physical reward every time, which could get expensive. It's best to involve the child when you're giving those rewards. So you need something that the child is going to be motivated by. They're also going to feel part of that system if they've had a choice in what reward they're going to be getting. You can be creative. So I think those are jelly babies in that jar. Really, really key. Reward charts are for positive behaviour. Never, ever take away the rewards that they've already earned, because then they kind of feel like it was pointless in the first place. So the rewards basically should be the same as the praise. They need to be specific, so you need to tell them what exactly they did that made you happy and why they're getting a reward. They need to be immediately after the behaviour. They need to be used consistently. So if a child has been behaving not as you would want them to all day, but then in the evening they do something that would earn them a reward, they still have to get that reward. Those two things, they're not contingent on each other, they're separate. And you need to really show that you are genuinely happy and pleased. Children like to please their parents in general. And if you're enthusiastic and you can show that you're really happy, then they kind of get that praise aspect as well as the reward. As I said, it's important to kind of be aware when they're doing these activities. And you might want to think, okay, you might not see a behaviour that... So, for example, with the parent that wanted to spend 3 minutes away so that she could go to the toilet, that child wasn't going to be able to do the 3 minutes first time. So there's no point rewarding the behaviour only after 3 minutes, because she would have never got a reward. What she did was reward for 10 seconds in the first instance. And so you might want to think about what behaviour you're looking for and make steps towards that. It helps if you can praise the child in front of others. They're going to feel proud and kind of get that social reward. But also take praise yourselves. And I think a lot of the parents that we see are not very good at that. They kind of see things that they feel they should be doing differently. But actually, you want to be modelling that if somebody says, oh, you're wearing a really nice dress today, thank you very much, I really like it too, rather than, oh no, bought it in the sale last week, which I think we all do. I do. Last strategy of the three, I'm probably running over time, but I promise this is the last one. So you've got attention, praise and rewards, and then the last one that I'm going to say is ignoring. So then this is in the bottom right-hand corner of that first slide. taking attention away from any behaviours that you don't want to see or you want to see less of. So that can provide a good role model, and you're not getting angry, you're not kind of losing your temper with them, and that's what you want to see them doing as well. You don't want, when they're frustrated, to be getting angry. You want to focus on the behaviours that are kind of annoying but not dangerous, and I'm not going to go into it, but obviously if somebody's thumping somebody or what they're doing is dangerous, going to hurt them or it's going to hurt somebody else, you don't want to be ignoring that, but we don't have time really to go into that today. Again, they're not getting that attention, so they're just not getting the payoff for any behaviour that you don't want to see. Really key bit at the bottom, it's active. So we call it active ignoring. You can't praise that. So if all you're doing is ignoring, then they're not getting any of the positive attention to increase the behaviours that you want to see. But if you're not there, so if you're in the kitchen, they're in the living room, you're not going to be around when they're doing that positive behaviour. You're not going to be able to praise it. You want to be able to praise it immediately after they've done it. So you're ignoring, and then they do something that you want to see more of, you immediately praise. So there are 3 rules to this active ignoring. Don't look at the child. Even looking is attention, so kind of 45-degree angle, looking away. Even kind of quick glances, a child will notice that, and they will see that you are actually paying attention, and they'll try and get more of your attention. You don't want to be telling them that you don't want to see that behaviour, so no, not just telling off, but no kind of saying, oh no, can you leave me alone for 5 minutes, I'm just on the phone. And if they're going to try and be in a position where they could maybe get on your knee or something, you don't want that. So maybe you might have to stand up, you might have to do something different to what you're already doing to make sure that they're not getting any of your attention. So we've taught that it needs to be planned, and you need to stop and praise as soon as the not okay behaviour ceases. Really key. If you only ignore sometimes, the behaviour will get worse, because they will find out that they only get your attention when they are really, really, really annoying, for example, and not just a bit annoying. And if they find that, then the next time, instead of starting a bit annoying and then getting more annoying, they'll just start with the being really, really annoying to start off with. So you have to ignore consistently. I say this, I'm not a parent, and I think that this is the hardest bit, and I can tell everybody, this is what you're supposed to do. I know from hearing lots of families that we work with, this is not easy, and it takes a lot, even for one small goal, this takes an awful lot of work, and you really have to commit to it. And you obviously need to combine it with positive attention, as I've said. I don't think we've got time to do this, but we've got maybe a couple of minutes at the end to talk through, but I'm also going to be around at lunchtime if anybody wants to ask me any questions. Thank you.